All right, I told you guys I would make a quick little video about just kind of talking through probability and odds, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's just the necessary vocabulary here, okay? Let's kind of start at the bottom here, actually. Let's talk about what probability is. Probability is really just the measure of likelihood, how likely something is to happen, right? And it's also the chances of something happening, okay? And so in order to do that, we're going to talk about outcomes, which are possible results. And then we're going to talk about events. And so events are actually like things that you're going to test. Like if you're flipping a coin, you find the probability of the event. And then one case might be the probability of finding or flipping a coin and getting heads. So getting heads would be the event, right? Outcomes, getting heads on a coin would be a possible result. Getting tails would be a possible result. Okay, it's not always going to be that easy. Sometimes you might say you are rolling you're rolling dice, and you want to know how many ways can you get two even numbers. Okay, or maybe you want to say how many ways can you get a sum to add up to a prime number. Okay, with that prime number, the sum of that prime numbers, that would be your event. Okay. All right, let's keep moving on. There's two different types of probability that we're going to use. Theoretical is when you just look at it on paper. This is what's supposed to happen. Experimental probability is when you actually try something out, and this tells you, this is probably a little more realistic. Okay, so I know in class I gave you the example of Bulls. When the Bulls were playing, they fouled a guy who's normally like a 60% free throw shooter. So in the theoretical probability, if he shoots 2 free throws, there's a good chance he's going to miss one of the two. But in reality, what happened? He came up and he made both free throws. So it just sort of gives, the theoretical probability and the experimental probability are not always going to work together. Okay. All right, odds in favor. This is just when you take your successes and you compare them to your failures. Okay, so let's say if you shoot 10 free throws and you make 7 of them, this would be 7 compared to 3. All right, so it would look like you'd say 7 compared to 3. Right? Normally you would say you made 7 out of 10. Right? This is what 7 out of 10. That's the probability, but these are the odds. What the odds are saying is 7 to 3. So there's 7 ways you can succeed, and then there's 3 times that you're going to fail. Okay, and then odds against are just it's just flipped. It's when you compare the failures or unfavorable outcomes first. All right, well here's an option. Okay, this is the 2 coin spin here, and what happens is I want to know how many different possible ways can you flip 2 coins. Well, there's 2 different ways here, and there are 2 different ways here. So when you multiply these, that's called your counting principle. You can get 2 different options for each of them. So 2 times 2 would be 4. And so this would look like if you do heads and heads. Let's see, yellow is a terrible color for this, so let's try do blue. Heads and heads, you could do heads tails, you could do tails heads, and then you could do tails tails. Now I want you to notice there's going to be structure, and you're going to be more likely to do well with this when you use some structure as to how you list out your probabilities. So in this case, I started off with heads, and then I rotated my options from heads to tails. The second time I did it, I did tails, right? And then I went heads to tails. So what I always did first is I went heads and then tails, right? Sometimes you might want to go alphabetically. Sometimes you want to go numerically from, ascending order from lowest to highest. So just keep those in mind. All right, so we did this in class. If I flip this 8 times, theoretically what should happen is if I want to get tails, tails, theoretically this should happen twice. So let's just see what happens real quick. All right, there's 1 time. Okay, I've flipped twice, flipped 3 times, and now I've got it. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 times it did happen. Okay, so theoretically and what am I trying to say here? Theoretically and experimentally it worked out. Let's flip it 4 more times and see if it shows up 1 more time. Okay, so then 1, 2, it did show up again. 3, 4. Oh, so it showed up again. So now you can see. So this showed up 4 out of 12 times. Okay, it showed up 4 out of 12 times. But theoretically, it should only happen 3 out of 12 times. Okay, so that's where you can kind of see theoretical and like actual world are two different things. Okay, so let's see. If you look at these, I wanted to know how many different ways can you, how many different results can you do when you do 5 coins? Okay, well there's 2 here, there's 2 here, there's 2 here, there's 2 here, there's 2 here. So all together you're going to get 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is going to be 32, right? So when you flip it, you know, you'd look and say, okay, what's the probability of getting all tails? Okay, and it would be 1 out of 32. So if we flip this thing 32 times, and I'm not going to flip this 32 times, but if you flipped it 32 times, all tails should show up once. Okay, so that's that general idea. Whoa, what happened there? Let's try resetting this. One of my there it is. Okay, so what I wanted to do here is I wanted to talk about what happens, or how many different ways can I roll 2 dice and generate, do a random number generation of 0 to 9. And if you remember in class, we figured out this is 360, right? Because there's actually 36 different ways I can roll 2 dice. In fact, let's look at that real quick, okay? If I have 36 different ways to roll dice. So let's go ahead. If I do this, what I can do is I can say 1 and 1. Okay, I can do 1 and 1, 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 1 and 4, 1 and 5, 1 and 6. 2 and 1, 2 and 2, 2 and 3. All right, so you can see from here there are 36 different ways that you can roll 2 dice. Okay, and so if we were to do this, we could say, okay, theoretically, to get a 1 and a 1, it would take 36 rolls, right? We do 36 rolls, it would show up once, right? So you could go ahead and you would roll that, and you'd see, okay, if you just keep rolling it and see what happens. And we could roll this 36 times, but I'm not going to. So, but it just gives you the general idea, okay, of what the possibilities are. Okay. There's a lot of dice there. Okay, so here, if you remember, this is going to be 36 and this is going to be 10. So all together, you're going to have 360 outcomes. Okay. Right, there are 360 outcomes, because if you think about it, I could get a 1 here, a 1 and a 1, a 2, a 1 and a 1, a 3, a 1 and a 1, right? So there's going to be, if you look at this chart, there's going to be a number 1 and then each of these. So 36 different options times 10 if I paired it with 1, if I paired all these with 2, paired all these with 3. Okay, so that's just the general idea of probability. You can go ahead. These are practice problems you can do there. I also posted on the calendar. If you are interested, you can go ahead and you can look at, or you can practice on Khan Academy. I believe it's called Probability 1. Make sure you know how to do the area of a circle. Okay, that's it.